Welcome back to Fresh Outlook's Lightning Round, when we discuss all the bizarre things and maybe not so bizarre things that have happened this week. Joining us again, Jose Lopez. He's a physics professor at Seton Hall University. Dr. Bart Rossi, who is the nation's preeminent political psychologist, and Stephen Sirot has joined us again from an earlier segment. Okay, lots of stuff happening this week. I think the most impressive was that there are now 2 women Army Rangers. If you know anything about that training, it is difficult even for the youngest and strongest of men to get through that, and you had 2 women do it, not 1, but 2. That is an amazing feat. Your thoughts?
Well, I've been married over 20 years. Doesn't surprise me one bit. I can't believe it took so long. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
well,
I
giving
think it's
birth
fantastic.
in itself, a woman doing that's quite a feat.
But you know, you talk about it physically, but also emotionally and psychologically,
yes,
to go through this and to endure it and to be able to come out ahead. I just give them a lot of credit, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great step forward.
Let's talk about the science and physics of this, Jose Lopez.
I mean,
a woman's body clearly is different from a man's. The upper arm strain is not as strong,
right,
and so on and so forth.
I mean, these are 2 unique women. One of them was an Apache helicopter pilot, and the other one was already in the U.S. Army and had seen action.
Right.
So these were very well trained women. But it is amazing, absolutely amazing. About 400 to 500 people start this 62-day training course for Army Rangers, and about 90 to 80 of them, depending on the year, get through. And this is the first time. But the thing is, remember, they've got through it, but they still cannot legally serve as Army Rangers at this point. There's still discussions with the Department of Defense on whether they can.
Why in the world can't they, for crying out loud? If they got through this program, they could. In fact, a couple of them even assisted some of their fellow male Army Rangers who couldn't do it anymore, and helped them out by carrying some of their gear and so on. I mean, that says a lot about them. We have to move along. We will, because that's why it's called the lightning round. We've had this terrible story about Jared from Subway. He's the spokesperson for Subway. Here's a guy who's not only a prominent figure in American pop culture, but also the face of a nationwide franchise chain which has to deal with this as well. Now, first of all, let's get into the psychology of this. What provokes a guy like this in a high-profile position to do something like that?
Well, you know, I always say that we all have different sides to our personality, and some sides obviously need a lot of work. In this case, we have a perversion. We have a side with this guy where there's a perversion and a sickness that we didn't see initially, but it was there. It was there for a long time, and it's manifested itself, and he's been exposed, if you will, to what's really going on in his mind.
Stephen Sirot, you're a business owner, and the face of your company gets in trouble like this. How do you recover from that?
Oh, I think it's very difficult. I mean, I was very disappointed when this all came out. It's almost hard to believe, because he didn't seem like that kind of a personality. But now I'm just waiting to hear what comes out about the Geico caveman. What's next?
Who's a little weird, just for the record. Right. He's a little weird. And you talked about the psychology of somebody like this, all different sides. So, and he has admitted guilt, so he's off to jail. But I think it was a surprise to just about everyone. Yes. And I think the folks at Subway will think twice before putting one person's name in front of everything and saying, this is our spokesperson. Let's get on to some other stuff. This is I couldn't believe it when I read it. It's the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, if you can believe it. Some say that then President Bush fumbled that one, and had it been a year earlier, probably wouldn't have been reelected. In retrospect, I was in New Orleans a few months ago. It seems to be back to normal for all intents and purposes. Did we learn anything from that, both on a government end and also on a maybe a science end, Jose?
I mean, predictions of hurricanes when they're coming in, I mean, we're not great at predicting weather long term, but definitely weather in the short term we are. And this was coming through, and the fact that the state of Louisiana and all of these different state agencies and federal agencies did not evacuate the people fast enough, and that they did not even think about infrastructure of how to protect themselves when you're literally sitting there on the coast.
Right.
You know, is still amazing to me, and the way FEMA handled it was, I mean, it was amazing. I mean,
Brownie did a heck of a job, apparently, and I say that because
that's what the president said.
What the president did during that time clearly fumbled the ball, and I think that a lot of people understand that is part of his legacy.
Well, I think that fumble, though, has resulted in a lot of learning for us.
Yes.
As Jose just said, I think we've learned a lot about how we should treat a disaster like this, and the president needing to fly over and be involved, to be as active as possible. You see that Obama, of course, took a different track with Sandy.
Right.
And I think that we have learned a lot, but again, it was because of a fumble.
Jose mentioned we had several days beforehand in which they could have prepared, but nobody seemed to be doing it on the federal, state, or local level. We have just 2 minutes left. I don't know if you've heard about this. There's a big thing going on in New York City. Apparently there it is right there. That is the famous Mr. Softee truck. Every kid who ever grew up in the New York metropolitan area knows that and is racing after it and saying, wait right now. But apparently a competitor of Mr. Softee's is playing the same tune, which when it goes down the block, as you know, a truck like that plays a tune to attract the kids. And now there's a lawsuit against the competitor because the song is supposed to be Mr. Softee's song. Now, I know going from Katrina to this is kind of a strange switch, but your thoughts on this?
Look, you're not going to find me saying anything against Mr. Softee.
We love Mr. Softee.
We love Mr. Softee.
Exactly.
So look, if it's properly trademarked and you know, then they have a legitimate case.
Yeah.
We're playing the song right now. This is the old commercial, and I'm one of those kids right there getting the vanilla with the chocolate jimmies, some sprinkles of jimmies, depending on what you brought up. Dr. Bart, what do you do in this case?
I think this is a big story.
Yeah.
This is a big story, and I
bigger
think
than the Army Rangers?
Oh, bigger than anything, really. Because I think we got to go with Mr. Softee here. I think we got to go with him. You know?
And Jose, I'm sure you saw the truck years ago coming down your
No, it still comes around. What are you talking about? I mean, the competitor was called initially Master Softee,
right.
And of course they successfully sued him. They changed their name to New York Ice Cream Company, and they still kept the jingle. I mean, I can't believe this is still kind of going on.
I could sing the jingle right now. I'm sure we all can. We know what the jingle is.
I could outrun my kids to the truck.
Exactly. So this is an instance where, you know, I don't know how they're going to settle this. I assume Mr. Softee playing the song for 30, 40, 50 years will probably win.
It'll be a soft settlement.
Oh, oh, you had to go for the. I'm sure there are more jokes in there as well. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We appreciated your time here, and we enjoyed the lightning round here on Fresh Outlook. Until next time, I'm Frank Cipolla. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Fresh Outlook. We'll see you again.